LEGO Brick Editor runs with any LEGO island on version 36.10 or later. You can access it by first launching an island. Now that our level's loaded, let's talk about some LEGO basics. If you look at these two bricks side by side, you'll see we have a top and a bottom. The right side has the top of the bricks, which contains the LEGO studs. The left side is underneath the brick, which is full of tubes. Studs snap into tubes, and tubes snap onto studs. This is going to be really important when we talk about snapping modes later on. Now that we know the basics, let's go into LEGO Brick Editor mode. To do that, you simply go to the Selection Mode dropdown and switch to LEGO Brick Editor. From here, you'll be given access to the 50 bricks and 42 colors that you can set them to. To place bricks in the world, you'll just left-click and drag a brick in. This functionality is default, so as long as you're left-clicking and dragging, you can place as many bricks as you want and start snapping together. If you want to move them with the Transform tool, you can simply select the Transform tool and move them around. They'll still snap exactly as you expect. With the Select Objects tool, it's worth noting that you have to have the brick picked up in order to access the rotation shortcuts. If you do Ctrl-Shift-Q, that is going to rotate the brick around the forward axis. If you do Ctrl-Shift-W, that's going to rotate it around the horizontal, and Ctrl-Shift-A or D will rotate it around the others. Because the controls are mapped to the standard UEFN toolset, you get access to some of the shortcuts you're used to as a creator. First of all, you can Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V, and that will snap the new brick to your mouse cursor. Then you can simply hover and left-click to place it onto its snapping point. If you're using the Transform tool, you can Alt-drag to duplicate bricks like you would with normal assets, and the bricks will still snap like you expect. You can, of course, press E to access the standard rotation, which is by default set to 90 degrees. If you want to change your rotation, you can go to your snapping options and change it to the number you choose. It's worth noting that it's against the LEGO Creator Guidelines to scale bricks, so scaling on these bricks is disabled. Like with any good modeling tool, you can actually customize the interactions. So if I click here on the main element selection settings, you can see that I can disable click to end drag. What that actually means is that instead of left-clicking and dragging, I can simply select the brick and then place it. I'm going to enable this. I'll click once, which picks the brick up as it follows my cursor, and then I'll click again to drop it on its snapping point. I actually prefer to work with this disabled, and it is disabled by default, but you might prefer it differently. Edge snapping will let you know whether or not bricks can snap to the side of other bricks. To take a look at this, with it on, you'll see that this brick actually goes and tries to snap to the side of the bricks because it notices its illegal edge bind. Now, you'll have to connect these with some other bricks, but it's nice to have that so you can align things evenly. And of course, if you want that functionality gone, simply disable it. The last thing I want to talk about is the maximum snapping distance, which has a default value of 2. This is how far away from the stud a tube will connect, or how far away from a tube a stud will connect. The best way to look at this is to set this to the max value of 5. And we'll switch to our Transform tool, select this brick, and scoot it up a bit. So you can see how far away 5 is. If I just drag it over this brick, you'll see once it gets within that range, it's going to auto snap. If that's too far for you, simply go back to your settings, go to Advanced, and change that max snapping distance back to whatever value you prefer. I actually like the default value, so I'm going to leave it at 2. You'll notice with 2 set, as I drag closer, it gets closer and snaps at a good distance. The final thing you need to know about using LEGO Brick Editor is that you can't snap Brick Editor assets to existing UEFN props. Let me show you what I mean. I'll jump into LEGO Content, we'll jump into our Galleries folder, and for quick access, we'll grab one of these space walls. Let's do this one. Now that the space wall's in the scene, you'll see that there's a couple of studs. Now I'll leave LEGO Brick Editor mode so that I can move this around. And let's jump back into LEGO Brick Editor mode so we can see that we're there. I'll grab this brick, we'll put it on drag and place, and you'll notice that none of my snapping functionality actually works when I'm trying to work with this. Again, because this is not a LEGO Brick Editor asset, it's not going to let me snap, which means if you want to mix the two, you need to make sure you are precisely aligning things, and you definitely want to make sure that you're not crashing bricks through each other, as that would be against the brand guidelines. So that's the basics of using the LEGO Brick Editor. Good luck and have fun building.